Fake names for privacy. I am based in the southern USA. I, 20 years old female, have been with my fiancé, 20 years old male, Alan, for 4.5 years. Alan has an older sister, Christine, 23 years old female, and both parents, Alan's father-in-law and Alan's mother-in-law. Alan's family likes to go on vacation every other year, usually a cruise through touristy islands in North America. In 2020, before we had even been dating for a year, I was invited on a cruise with them to Puerto Rico. And I, 16 years old then, managed to get all the money together within 2 weeks, but the trip was cancelled due to infection-19 restrictions. In 2022, when my fiancé graduated high school, they went on a cruise as a family and I was not invited, and was asked to dog sit for them. This year is the first year I would be able to go with them in summer 2024. Christine, currently single, usually has 3 to 6 month relationships, and her boyfriends have always been welcome on vacations regardless of how long they've been together. This makes me angry, as I have been with Alan for longer than any of them, and yet was still not invited. This brings me to today. Having talked about a cruise back in November of 2023, I just reminded them I would not like for it to be over my birthday, late June, and would rather it be in July. They agreed, and since it was a long ways out, we did not mention it again. Apparently, as I found out today, Alan's father-in-law had booked the tickets in December but did not include me in the booking, even though I was invited by them directly in November. Either I pay an extra $2,000 for a room across the ship and find someone else to join, or I don't go. That's kind of where we're at. I am angry that I was asked directly, and was really excited about the trip, but was not included. Alan is conflicted about what to do, and is trying to convince his parents to refund the tickets and rebook it with me included, after I bothered him for 2 hours to fix this. I would pay for my portion of the trip, which I do not mind, and I expected to do anyways. I just feel extremely disrespected by being asked to join, then not being booked because I didn't badger them enough to remember to add me in. I didn't even know they had booked the tickets, considering it is still 6 months out, and Alan's father-in-law, Alan's mother-in-law are not wanting to change their bookings. Am I the idiot for being angry at being excluded for this? ETA. After speaking to Alan's father-in-law, Alan's mother-in-law, Alan talked to Christine and asked if she could ask her friends if there was someone to join so I would not be paying the full value of the room. 2 beds. What I did not originally know was that an extra room could be added onto their booking. So we would all still be near each other instead of across the ship, like it would be if I booked separately. And their reasoning was, we can't have an odd number of people because that would be paying for an unused bed. I am still conflicted on whether or not I want to actually go, because Alan's father-in-law, Alan's mother-in-law, did not directly tell us when they had booked. And I am hearing all of this secondhand from Alan. The group chat I made in November called Cruise 2024 sits untouched as of now. In general, they are nice people, and usually a go-with-the-flow type of family, so it was a surprise all of this was booked so far in advance, which is why I hadn't asked originally for updates. ETA 2. For those asking, we have been together for 4.5 years, engaged for 4 months. We plan to stay engaged for many years, get our degrees and be in a stable financial situation before fully settling down at 23 to 24 years old. ETA 3. To everyone speculating that Alan is part of the reason I was not included in the booking, saying he is not a good person and to leave him, you are hearing one situation out of 4-5 years of a relationship. Not everything is a break up with them immediately moment, and while I appreciate your advice, your assumptions are just that, assumptions. You do not know everything about my relationship, nor the relationship he has with his parents. That is not at all what this post is about. I was asking if my anger was justified at his parents, nothing about him. Please stop saying to break up with him when you don't know anything at all about us. He is the one playing middleman here, speaking to his parents about the situation on my behalf, as it's not my place to confront them. The 2 hours was spent trying to get him to figure out what to say, not to actually confront them. Poor wording on my part, but still stands that this is not a relationship advice post at all. Final ETA 4. To answer similar questions in the comments, because replying individually to 700 plus comments is absurd. Current booking is Alan's father-in-law, Alan's mother-in-law in one room, Christine Alan in another room. If I and Christine's friend were to join, it would be Alan's father-in-law, Alan's mother-in-law, Christine friend, Alan me. It does not matter who is in what room, just that each person has a paid-for spot. This is why they did not book me. As far as rooms with single beds, triple beds, it is more expensive than paying for a double. As far as I know, you cannot have double occupancy per bed. Kind of like sitting in the same seat on a flight. So even though Alan and I would still sleep in the same bed, I would still need one booked for myself. The group chat was created by me because his parents are technologically challenged, and while it was my idea, it was so his parents could inform us of the bookings and other things to keep us both in the loop. No one has used the chat since its creation in November, hence why neither Alan or I knew the tickets were even booked in the first place. Alan only found out when asking in passing yesterday. His parents did not bring it up. Alan and I cannot afford our own trip together, as we are both college students, and I cannot pay for an entire trip alone. I do not have enough friends, nor can they pay for it, for me to go on my own vacation separately from his family. Alan cannot afford to buy a separate booking from his parents on the same cruise either, and his spot is already paid for, so that would just be a waste of money, regardless of the principle it holds. As for me, paying for a single bedroom, those are double the price for a double bedroom, which I have to split with the friend anyways. This is paying for our spots, not which bed we'll sleep in. See above on bedding situation. It is the only affordable option for me to join. About my engagement. There is a ring. Don't know why that matters. And we have been talking about marriage since about 2 years into our relationship. The decision for an extended engagement was a mutual decision, as it is logically the most beneficial outcome. This way, we have experience living together prior to marriage. We both will have degrees and a stable financial situation before fully settling down. It is not my place to ask his parents to change their plans on their vacation, which is why Alan is playing middleman. My anger came from their lack of communication, inviting me directly, not booking me, then not saying anything about the booking until Alan happened to ask about it in passing. Yet again, this is not a relationship advice post. I cannot give you a full 4.5-year backstory on one situation, as that is highly unnecessary and way too identifiable. We have been through a lot together: death, hospitalization, addiction recovery, etc., and we will continue to do so. An update will be given in the coming months as we make our decision any other changes happen to the current situation. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Oh, I see the issue. You thought you were engaged to an adult. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news. He's still a child. You both are really, although you're more mature than he is apparently. This family isn't your family, and they won't be. They'll probably always be blaming you for something. If Alan knew you were planning on going, and also knew the tickets were booked, then why are you even worried about getting angry? That's just playing into their hands. Book your own trip. Find a friend to go with you. Don't get mad. Get on with your life. None of these people are your friends or your family. Grow a spine or become a perpetual doormat. Your choice. Edit, re your updates. Good luck with all that. Comment 2. Not the idiot for feeling hurt that you have not been included after 4.5 years and being engaged, while his sister's short-term boyfriend do tend to be included. I have no idea what their issue is, but it's certainly concerning that they aren't considering you to be a regular guest when you are engaged to their son. And it's concerning that your fiancé doesn't know what to do when he should be standing up for you and saying he won't go without you. If he doesn't, how long are you willing to live with this? Now, for the update. Hey y'all, it's been a tense 3 days since my last update, and boy do I have some news. So, buckle up, because this update is a doozy. First off, let me give you a bit of background on Alan and me. We've been through thick and thin together, from the loss of my grandpa to his mom's battle with illness. We've supported each other through college exams and the stress of part-time jobs. Our relationship has been solid, or so I thought. Now, let's dive into the recent events. After my last post, things got even more complicated. Alan and I had a heart-to-heart, and he admitted that he felt torn between me and his family. He said he didn't want to upset his parents by pushing too hard for me to be included. I was hurt, feeling like I was second to his family, even after all these years. But here's the kicker. Christine's latest fling, who she's been seeing for barely a month, got invited on the cruise. Yep, you read that right. When Alan confronted his parents about it, they said they didn't want Christine to feel lonely. I was floored. How could they justify inviting her flavor of the month and not me, their son's fiancé of 4.5 years? The next day, things escalated. Alan's father-in-law called me directly, which was a first. He said he wanted to clear the air. He explained that they valued me but saw the cruise as a family tradition, and adding me felt like it was changing the dynamic. I was speechless. It felt like a slap in the face, considering all the boyfriends Christine had brought along over the years. But wait, there's more. That evening, Christine dropped a bombshell. She confessed that she had told her parents she didn't want me on the cruise because she was worried about feeling like a third wheel. I couldn't believe it. Christine and I had always gotten along, or so I thought. She apologized, but the damage was done. My heart was breaking, not just because of the trip, but because I felt betrayed by someone I considered a friend. Alan was furious with his sister and parents. He said he'd had enough and was considering not going on the cruise at all. But I could tell he was conflicted. It was a family tradition, after all, and he didn't want to cause a rift. The next day, Alan's mother-in-law called me. She was crying, saying she didn't realize how much this had hurt me. She offered to pay the difference for the extra room so I could come. But at this point, I didn't know if I wanted to be stuck on a ship with them for a week. Alan and I had a long talk that night. We reminisced about our high school prom, how he had stood up to his friends who didn't want me in their group photo. He had always been my rock. But now, it felt like everything was crumbling. We decided to sleep on it, but I tossed and turned all night. I kept thinking about the first time I met his family, how welcoming they seemed. And now, this. This morning, Alan told me he had made a decision. He said he loved me more than anything and that he couldn't stand to see me hurt like this. He was going to tell his parents that he wouldn't go on the cruise unless I was included, properly, as part of the family. I was touched, but also scared. What if this caused a permanent rift in his family? What if they blamed me? Stepfather drinks my birthday wine, so I laugh in his face. Mom takes his side, but I find a new home with Grandma, and she's shocked. About 7 months ago, I, 21-year-old female, was gifted 2 bottles of wine that were gifted from a beloved friend for my 21st birthday. I left both at my mom's house for safekeeping as I went back to my college dorm. Well, I went home for the holidays only to find out that they were missing, to which my stepfather confessed that he drank them. I was in disbelief, especially since it was clear they were mine, from the very unique packaging, and he was present at the gathering, and kept asking whether he was serious. He just laughed each time and said he couldn't find anything like it, etc., never once apologizing. I then felt the need to leave. My mom followed me to my car and questioned why I would leave such special gifts at the house, and why I'm just now asking for them 7 months later. Not true, as I had asked about them 3 months ago while the house was getting cleaned. She also said that it was an honest mistake and that she'll find replacements. And what more do I want for her to do? I proceed to tell her that I left some possessions behind since it's my home too. I also told her that it seemed like there weren't any room for me at her place due to her other family now. There are other instances where my mom would have a pattern of disfavoring me. Anyway, my mom then told me that it sounds like I'm making excuses to go live with my biological dad instead of her, and how she's trying her hardest to raise us. She brought up the fact that she pays for my car insurance and phone plan again, which is true. I decided to live with my grandma upon graduation for my gap year, since I don't feel welcomed at my mom's anymore, nor can I live with my dad, even though he offered, since it would upset her. It's not like I expected an apology, but it would have been nice to receive any acknowledgement of how I felt over losing a cherished gift just like that. But am I the jerk for overreacting/blowing things out of proportion, especially after everything she's done for me? And am I also being ungrateful by harboring a bit of resentment towards my stepfather over something so materialistic? Edit. I'm getting questions as to why I chose not to live with my dad. The reason being that the last time I stayed at his place over the holiday break, my mom had irregular heart palpitations that led to a doctor's visit. It was caused by the stress of it all. As for where I left the booze, I left it in my so-called bedroom, but it was moved to the pantry by Stay. I'm guessing either my stepfather or mom didn't stick around to ask for more details at the time, and I doubt my preteen sister moved it. Mini update. There has been no follow-up on reimbursement or an apology of any sort. No phone call or text message, just silence on both sides. I'll be waiting a bit longer, but with the way things are going, I will most likely be discussing with my dad about possibly moving into the bedroom that he already has set up for me at his house. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the jerk. Just go live with your dad, if the only reason you didn't is to not offend your mother. As commented before by Coolstar2028, there is much more going on than the wine. Reading your story, I get the feeling that you are not feeling at home anymore. To put it lightly, comment 2. You are 21 years old, so you can live with your dad, and she will have to accept that. You should not be afraid to live with your dad because she will be upset. You go where you want. The theft of the wine was not an accident. Not the jerk. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. A lot has happened in the past 3 days, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it all. So, after the whole wine fiasco, things got even more heated. I had a long talk with my grandma about everything, and she shared some stories about my mom that I never knew. Apparently, my mom has always had a competitive streak, even as a kid. She would get really upset if she didn't get what she wanted, and it seems like that hasn't changed much. Grandma thinks that's why my mom reacts the way she does when I bring up issues. It's like she sees it as a challenge instead of a problem to solve together. Meanwhile, my stepdad had been acting weird since the incident. I caught him whispering on the phone and then quickly hanging up when I walked into the room. It was odd, but I didn't think much of it until later. 2 days ago, I got a call from my mom out of the blue. She was crying, which immediately set off alarm bells because my mom is not the type to show her emotions easily. She confessed that my stepdad had been having an affair and that she had just found out. The wine situation was apparently the least of her worries now. I was shocked. I mean, I knew their marriage wasn't perfect, but I never expected something like this. My mom was devastated, and in a weird way, it brought us closer. We talked for hours, and she apologized for not taking my feelings into account over the wine and other things. She admitted that she had been so wrapped up in her own issues that she hadn't been there for me. But here's the twist. My stepdad's affair was with someone I knew. It was my high school best friend's mom, Mrs. Thompson. I couldn't believe it. Mrs. Thompson had been like a second mom to me, and to think she was involved with my stepdad was just, I don't even have words for it. The confrontation was intense. My mom and I went to Mrs. Thompson's house to get some answers. It was like something out of a movie, with shouting and tears. Mrs. Thompson tried to apologize, but my mom wasn't having any of it. I was just standing there, feeling like I was in the middle of a storm. After that, things at home were tense. My mom asked my stepdad to leave, and he's been staying at a friend's place. She's been trying to make it up to me, offering to pay for a trip or buy me something nice, but it all feels so hollow. I appreciate her efforts, but it's hard to just forget everything that's happened. As for my stepdad, he's been trying to reach out to me, but I've been ignoring his calls. I'm not ready to talk to him, and I'm not sure if I ever will be. The betrayal is just too much. In the midst of all this, my biological dad has been my rock. He's been checking in on me every day, making sure I'm okay. He even offered to confront my stepdad for me, but I told him it wasn't necessary. I'm just grateful to have him in my corner. So, that's where things stand right now. My mom is trying to pick up the pieces of her marriage, and I'm trying to figure out where I fit into all of this. I'm still planning on moving in with my grandma after graduation, but now it's for a different reason. I need some space from all the drama, and grandma's place is the perfect refuge. Husband ditches sick wife for parents, but his secret meet with an ex spells payback. His smug grin fades as the truth unravels. I, 31-year-old female, had a really bad cold this Christmas. I don't think I've had one like this ever since I was a kid. Initially, I was supposed to go with my husband, 32-year-old male, to visit his parents, who live 5 hours away. We were supposed to leave on the 23rd of December and come back on the 27th. Anyway, I realized on the 22nd that my cold was really bad and that I couldn't leave with him. I actually asked him to stay with me instead. I didn't think it's a crime to miss Christmas at his folks for 1 year, but he insisted on going alone. I asked him multiple times to stay, but he just got me some medications and supplies and left. I also asked him yesterday to return a day earlier, but he once again refused. What really ticked me off is that I started watching a movie by myself, and he insisted that I close it and wait for him to return so we could watch it together, as well as a TV show and another movie. It really pissed me off, because I don't think he's in a position to make demands like that, since he refused all my requests to not go or come back early. I also got to mention that my mother-in-law and father-in-law hate me and actually insisted that he stays there for a few more days. Am I the idiot? I don't know if I'm exaggerating a bit, but I kind of feel that I am. Edit. Making this additional post because I can't comment due to lack of karma. Wanted to give a bit more information on the issue. 1. I'm from an Eastern European country, so I guess Christmas is pretty important for my in-laws. We usually go there together for Christmas. Last year I didn't go because I worked, but I didn't ask him to stay home with me, of course. So he went alone, and I didn't mind it because I wasn't bedridden. So it's not like it's a common occurrence for me to beg him to spend Christmas with me. 2. The commenters have a theory, and I agree. I do think he may have thought I was exaggerating my cold in order to make him not go. Could be, especially since he knows that I don't feel comfortable visiting them. My husband is indeed an only child, as some commenters speculated, and my mother-in-law does little to hide her distaste for me. She made a scene at our wedding and constantly makes disparaging remarks about me. Truth be told, I do think she's a hateful woman in general. She isn't that much nicer to my husband. My father-in-law is mostly passive-aggressive and mocks me when we talk, but nothing as hateful as my mother-in-law. So, I do suspect my husband thought I might be exaggerating in order to not go. However, I really am very sick. I barely made it through the last days at work because I couldn't take free time from work, so I basically collapsed in bed on the 22nd. I haven't left the house since. I have a fever, a really bad cough, muscle and back pains, loads of mucus and terrible laryngitis. I literally cannot speak. 3. About the shows. I knew of 2 shows that he insisted we watch together, and I didn't start those. This was a movie I started. I didn't know he wanted to watch it. He told me to stop it after I had already started it, so yeah. I wasn't even that mad about him leaving me home alone until he told me to stop the movie. So yeah, I didn't start the movie on purpose to punish him. Number 4. To the posters saying that it could be infection 19, I haven't taken that into consideration until after he left. I know it's weird, but infection 19 hasn't been considered a thing in my country for a while. I had 3 doses of the Pfizer vaccine, but not sure if that covers it anymore. Yeah, I don't know if it could really test positive on one of those home tests. I should ask him to get me one when he comes back tomorrow just in case. Or better yet, I should probably go to the hospital and get PCR tested. You all are right, I've been irresponsible. At least I wore a mask at work. 5. To the posters wondering if he took his parents up on their offer, he didn't. He said he's coming back tomorrow, as planned. 6. To the commenters saying that I want to make him sick by staying at home with me, I'm pretty sure he's the one who gave me the cold. He was the first one showing symptoms. His are just way milder. He just has a cough. I did tell him it might not be a good idea to go to his parents with it, but apparently they didn't care. They just wanted him to visit, so he went. 7. What were my expectations for this Christmas? Stay together on the couch and watch movies together. Have a nice Christmas meal together. I don't know, just chilling? As a response to the people who say we would have stayed in separate rooms if he stayed for Christmas. 8. Why do my in-laws hate me? Well, they're from a pretty conservative region in our country, and I'm a pretty liberal person. They think I turned their son atheist. I didn't. He was that way when I met him. Also, they resent that my parents have a different religion than them. My parents are born-again Christians, and my in-laws are Orthodox. Me and my husband are neither. But yeah, I really tried to make them like me over the years with gifts and being generally nice, but it's not working, I guess. 9. I don't know, maybe I am the jerk, but I think relationships and the demands we have from them are very personal. In the end, if he had been in my place, in this exact situation, and I asked him to stay with me for Christmas, I'm 99% sure he would have. So, I think I want to be in a relationship with someone who would do the same for me. Thanks for answering, everybody. Second edit. I talked to a friend who's an infectious disease doctor, and I'm going to get tested tomorrow. Based on the symptoms, he says it's most likely the flu, since there's been a very aggressive flu brewing around in our city. Third edit. I feel some of y'all are taking this too seriously. I'm not that hurt. It isn't that big of a deal. Just a mild annoyance that we'll probably forget about in a month. I just wrote the post because I wanted to gauge how someone outside the situation would see it. I've never used this subreddit before, but having seen this thread, I feel that it's very hard for someone on the internet's opinion to be that relevant in a situation like this, since the context is usually very important. Maybe some users have been through a similar situation and the story hits a nerve, etc. It's hard to discuss proper nuance and relationship history in a few paragraphs, I guess. Anyway, it's really not that serious. Fourth edit. You all keep calling them aging relatives. They're in their mid-50s, so middle-aged, I'd say. Not elderly at all. Fifth edit. Just because last year I was okay with my husband leaving, it doesn't mean I'm okay with it this year, when I'm actually housebound, and I asked him to stay. Saw someone mentioning it. Just because I'm an atheist doesn't mean I don't culturally care about Christmas. It's a very important celebration in my country. It's a very nice holiday that I would rather spend with my loved ones than alone. My mum actually said the same thing. You're not even a Christian. Why do you even care that he's not home? I personally don't care about baby Jesus, but I really like the holiday itself. Am I not allowed to enjoy the general festivities just because I'm not a Christian? End of corrected text. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. I'm more interested in the larger issue of his parents hate me. And yet, OP and husband have to drive 5 hours every year, at least once, maybe for other holidays or visits too, to spend Christmas there. What's wrong with having your own Christmas at your own home? And him leaving you, while you're sick, to go spend an entire week with people who hate his wife. Although the sick aspect doesn't bother me as much as they hate me does. It seems he's overly attached to mommy and daddy and hasn't stood up for his wife and said, "She's my wife. You accept her and be nice, or you lose me." The fact that their hate is still active and directed at her is troubling. The parents are being very disrespectful of their adult son. Comment 2. Edit. I can't believe everyone is making this about a cold. It's not about the cold. It's about being left for a week to spend Christmas alone. He could have even gone for a couple of days and come home. Instead, I'm hoping for an update to see if he took his parents up on them wanting him to stay longer. Not the idiot. When he told you not to watch that movie, I would have hung up on him and not spoken to him again till he got home. I would probably watch it over and over so you can spoil it for him while he's watching it. But I'm contrary that way. You are right, he was in no position to make any kinds of demands. And next time, just go with him. Sounds like his family would deserve it. Not the idiot. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, a lot has happened since my last post, and I'm here to spill the tea on the latest developments. Buckle up, because it's been a hectic ride. After my husband left for his parents' place, despite my terrible cold, things took a turn for the worse. I got my test results back, and yep, it was the flu. I was feeling miserable, and the loneliness of the house echoed louder than my cough. I remember how my husband and I had promised to always be there for each other, through sickness and health. It stung that he wasn't here now when I needed him the most. Meanwhile, my husband was having a blast at his parents' house, or so it seemed from the pictures he sent. There he was, smiling with his mom and dad, who never missed a chance to show their dislike for me. It was like a slap in the face, seeing him so happy while I was here, struggling to even breathe properly. Then came the bombshell. I got a call from my friend who lives near my in-laws. She told me she saw my husband at a local bar, cozying up with his high school ex-girlfriend. My heart sank. We had history with this girl. Before we got married, she tried to get back with him, and he assured me she was just a part of his past. Now, it seemed like history was repeating itself. I confronted him over the phone, and he tried to brush it off as a casual meetup. But I wasn't born yesterday. The trust we had built over the years crumbled in an instant. I thought back to the times we had laughed together, shared our dreams, and supported each other's careers. Was all that just a facade? The next day, he came back as planned, but the atmosphere was icy. I couldn't look at him without picturing him with her. We had a huge fight, and he finally admitted that he had feelings for her that he thought were long gone. My world shattered. I had been there for him when he lost his job, when he felt insecure about his future, and this was how he repaid me. I demanded to know why he didn't just stay with me for Christmas if he was feeling conflicted. He said he needed space to think, but all he did was run straight to her. The irony was not lost on me. I had asked him to stay, and he had refused, only to seek comfort in someone else's arms. As if things couldn't get any worse, my mother-in-law called. She had heard about our fight and took his side, saying I was overreacting and that I should be grateful he came back at all. It was like pouring salt on an open wound. I remembered all the times I tried to win her over, to be the daughter-in-law she wanted, but it was never enough. Now, I'm left picking up the pieces of my broken heart. I keep thinking about the promises we made on our wedding day, the plans we had for the future, and how it all seems like a distant dream now. I'm not sure where we go from here, but one thing is clear. The love I thought we had was on shaky ground, and I'm not sure if it can be rebuilt. If you liked this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.